Great. Hi, Amanda. Sorry about the tech issues. It looks like the link was wrong in the agenda, so I had to resend it.
Do you think that that was because he had to reset something with you today?
No, that's just the multi-factor authentication sometimes forgets all the devices that are authorized to log in. So then you have to kind of reauthorize the devices that you're logging in on. And it just, sometimes it requires it and sometimes it doesn't. And I know it's happening because Tim told me to test it beforehand and then get with Chris at the city. And that's what we did today. But no, I think it was just not the right link.
Well, because it's odd, because what I normally do is just open up the agenda from a previous meeting that has the link and then use that as the base. It's like not like I'm pasting that into the agenda, but somehow I must have, I don't know. I didn't think that it had gotten changed since our last meeting.
Yeah, that's okay. It happens. It's tech. So I guess Chris asked me to facilitate. So I guess I will call the meeting to order late, 10 minutes late at 5:40. And Chris, I assume you're taking notes?
Yes.
Okay. And we did establish that we have a quorum, right? Even though 2 members are missing?
Yeah, there's 5.
Okay. So do we have any adjustments to the agenda? I have a request, a conversation item I'd like to add, but I'll let everybody else go first. Okay. I would like to add waste in the parking lot and addressing it, mostly biohazardous kind of waste in the trailhead parking lot. So we could add that to the end of the agenda.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to item 3, who would like to read the communications agreement and mission statement? Okay, Susan, thank you.
Okay, I would be happy to. The mission statement is to connect people to the place in ways that allow recreation, exploration, collaboration, and stewardship of the cow pasture. We affirm pursuing stewardship of the cow pasture has many dimensions, including a positive group process. Thus, we adopt the following agreements for all forms of communication, verbal, written, email, etc. We value what each person has to offer. Please come prepared to participate fully. All relevant ideas are welcome. Pursuit of ideas will be based on feasibility and support of the group. Only present ideas that you are willing to carry forward personally. Consensus agreement will be sought. Only block consensus when you cannot live with the decision moving forward. Seek first to understand and then respond with kindness and respect. Observe the 3 C's. Keep contributions concise, constructive, and connected to the group's purpose. Share the floor and be open to responses, even if you disagree.
Did we get disconnected?
You're muted.
I am muted. Yes, thank you. We have 2 separate sets of minutes to approve, so I'm going to start with March 20th. Did everybody have a chance to read, and can we get a motion to approve the March 20th? Somebody's got to make a motion unless there were changes.
I don't think as the chair I can make a motion.
Oh, but I can, right? Because I'm just the facilitator. I'm not the chair.
Correct.
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve the March 2025 meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay. Any discussions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All right. Any opposed? No. And Amanda, remind me, you are not a voting member, correct? Thank you. Okay.
Correct.
All right. The May 15th minutes, 2025. Hope everybody had a chance to read them. I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes.
Had no changes. I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay. Second that motion. Any discussions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any opposed? I don't think we have any opposition here. All right. Election of officers, chair, co-chair, and secretary. We are missing 2 people. Wonder if it would be smart to do that today, or if that should be something I think, didn't we postpone that last time already? Is this the second time we're bringing this to the agenda?
We had it on the agenda for the meeting that we canceled in March, I guess, and then we had a special meeting to discuss the URSA grant. So it was not brought to that special meeting agenda, so it was hanging out there.
Okay. So what do folks think about talking about this today, or moving it to when we're fully there, when we have all members present? The other option is we sign them the duties because they're gone.
Yeah, if I may speak, I guess we're always informal about this.
Yeah.
Raise my hand, but so we are required to have a chair, co-chair, and a secretary. Only recently, in the last couple of years, have we had a co-chair. I have been being the chair for since the committee was formed, and I am certainly welcome, or I'm putting out there that I can step down from that position. So if anyone would like to be the chair of the committee, I would more than happy. We've never really had elections. We've never followed the Roberts rules, I must say. And I think most people just haven't wanted to be in the positions. So I've just kind of continued to be in the chair, but I am more than happy and willing to step down, and would like to pass the torch on to anyone who would like to become the chair of the committee.
Would you also be more than happy to stay on?
I feel like I'm not. I feel badly that I'm not the one that, like you are now, facilitating the meeting. I feel like that's the position of the chair, and so I'm not technically savvy that way. So I feel badly regarding that. I think it's something that I should be doing and I'm not doing.
I'm not concerned about that personally. As the facilitator and co-tech person with Jim, I don't have a problem with that. Is there anybody else who's interested in being a chair? And I have to admit, I have not done officer elections in committees before, so this is new. So call me out if I'm not doing this following procedure. Always welcome input into that. So any interest in the chair position, or any of these really?
I think you're doing fine, Jeanette. On a procedural point, I think it's totally fine to arrive at a slate by discussion and then motion the entire slate forward. If there were a contested election, there would be specific things to do around that, but I think the way it's going is fine.
Okay, thank you so much.
Do we have a current official chair, co-chair, and secretary? I feel like I should know that, but I don't remember. Tim might have been the co-chair, and I don't know if we replaced him after he left.
Not officially. We have Chris, who is both the chair and the secretary, which I don't think she's really supposed to be doing both. I think those are supposed to be separate, and I don't think we have an official co-chair.
Yeah, I thought that, or maybe I'm mistaken, Jeanette, but I thought that you were willing to do the co-chair. That's why I've been
Oh.
leaning on you so
Oh.
much. And my apologies, apologies if that wasn't like your understanding.
That's fine. Okay. Well, I guess Jim. I'm the co-chair right now.
Congratulations.
Really apologize for that miscommunication. But I thought that there was something that we discussed when, Tim stepped down.
Yeah.
Quite a 1.5 years, 2 years ago now.
And it could totally be that we did have that conversation. I just spaced it because there's so much going on right now. So that's totally possible. So is there what positions are folks interested in here in this group? And again, I guess I come back to, we have to do this today, right? Because we're supposed to give something to the city, or should we really wait until there are other folks who can step up? Or who have the chance to step up? Chris?
I do think that we can postpone it again. We're so, I hate to say this, but I've been so negligent in bringing this to the committee and electing officers. The history has it is that nobody really wanted to ever do anything. This committee is super engaged and active. But in the past, when I tried to bring it up, there was no one stepping forward for anything. Maybe that's why you secretly got assigned co-chair. So I think that, what I would like to propose is that we put it off until the next meeting with the election, and then maybe I can come up with, ask the city or ask another committee to get a list of things that are typical of the chair, co-chair, and secretary. I can come up with a list in my head, but it would be great to get someone in the secretary position, which I'm not really sure what that entails other than doing the minutes and sending out the agenda.
Yeah, that's how I understand it. So it would also give folks a chance to think about it rather than, it's been warned on the agenda. We should all be prepared to come and talk about these things. But with 2 members missing, I think it's just, it would probably be better to really nudge people in the direction for the next meeting to come prepared to talk about this and come prepared to consider one of the positions. That would be helpful. Susan?
I think it would be useful to see what the expectations are of each job also. It's hard to want to commit to anything if you don't know what you're committing to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amanda?
If I can help by giving a very short brief of what the expectations for officer positions are on other city committees, if that
would be helpful.
Okay. Chair is responsible for setting the agenda for the meetings, for leading the meetings themselves, sometimes for communicating about the work of the committee, meeting with the city manager. Usually like a request for city resources would go through the chair. The co-chair or the vice chair, whatever you want to say, usually their sole duty is to step in when the chair is unable to do that work, and that can include everything as described in the chair duties. The secretary is responsible for taking minutes of the meetings, which at their bare bones level need to simply be a recording of meeting start and stop times, as well as any motions made and who made them. It does not necessarily have to be, although many secretaries do interpret it as a complete running list of everything and that was discussed in the meeting. That can often be helpful to have a discussion captured, but the core requirement is to record the actions taken at the meeting. The secretary would also be responsible for getting the minutes to the city in a timely fashion. I believe open meeting law is within 5 days after the meeting has completed, so they can be posted on the city website.
Yeah. And I think you may have mentioned this, Amanda. I think the secretary, is it the chair or the secretary who gets the meeting warned through the city website?
It can be really either, but It really can be either, depending on how the committee decides it. I think probably it would mostly be the chair because they're the one responsible for developing the agenda, and all that requires is emailing it to a specific city email address, a required number of days before the meeting, because the meeting cannot happen unless it's publicly warned within a certain period of time. It's none of it onerous, it just requires a little bit of attention to detail.
Yeah. Okay, so that is helpful. Susan, does that help you as a starting point?
That is very helpful.
Okay.
And it seems currently like Chris is doing all of that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm not leading the meetings. And so that's where I feel like that's an important part for whatever reason for the chair to be doing. And I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with like troubleshooting like you just did, Jeanette, on the fly, which seems to happen like every other meeting for one reason or another. And so
I suspect that we're being the committee that we are, I suspect that we can be somewhat fluid in passing off the responsibilities between co-chair and chair, like you just did to me with the facilitation, since I'm co-chair. So I think, I don't know that the city would have an issue with that, because we're a well-managed committee. And if that's, if you're not comfortable with facilitating the meeting, I'm sure the city would be okay with passing that off. I'm speaking for the city, but I would make an argument, about skills.
I think there is a very fair argument, especially if you are vice chair or co-chair, Jeanette, that the chair can delegate that authority to you for the purposes of the meeting. It happens in other meetings. Usually the most common scenario is conflict of interest, where the chair would have to delegate the meeting to another person, but I don't necessarily see any reason like that couldn't be a standard thing. I would probably, from like a Robert's rules / open meeting law perspective, like you should be a named officer in that case if the intention is to continue with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily a problem.
Okay, great. Yes, so I think we need a motion to postpone this conversation to the next meeting so that we can have named officers, and then really nudge people next time to come prepared to talk about it and be ready to step into one of these roles if they're interested. So
moved.
Oh, that wasn't a motion.
But I mean, I make the motion that you just said.
Okay, all right, I guess I made that motion. Okay.
Oh, you did?
Well,
Oh,
so moved.
second.
Okay, yes, so, okay, second. It's hot. Any seconds?
Like Susan or Emily.
Oh, that
Sure.
was the second?
Sure.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay, then all in favor?
I
Okay, all right. So moved now, I think. I think that's how it works. I also have this 26-pound dog on me who's like a little heater, but he's been alone all day, so he has to be here. Okay. Election of officers, Ursa grant subcommittee updates. Oh, okay. I guess I can go first with the trail assessment.
Yep.
Okay, so we went back and forth a little bit with Zach. We gave him all of you all's input and have come to a point of accepting both the trail assessment and also the map. He did manage to update the map with some brighter line colors and make everything pop out a little bit more. So I think it looks really great now and is quite visible. So we told him to go ahead with the trail assessment. I did draft a cover for the trail assessment that when we post the trail assessment to the website, we'll just slap the cover on there so that we are really clear clear on this is Zach's, the vendor slash contractor's trail assessment that he submitted, because there's still typos in there and things like that, that we, you know, I don't want that to be out there as our work. And I want to be sure that everybody understands that it is his work that we hired for. So but it's a great product. I think we have some good stuff to work with on the future projects that we still need to do. So yeah, I would say we can put it up on the website sometime too. So that is my update.
I'll just follow that with, since you mentioned the maps and that's not specifically on the agenda, I did get all the files that Zach had sent us and I put them into a Google Drive folder that Jeanette and Chris and I have been using for all of this work. I had some challenges opening up like the raw files into ArcGIS Pro, but I think I can work on that. I think I just have an older version than what they used. I'm going to ask Zach to ask his map person to provide some older file types that should work for that. I'm also going to check in with Mark because I know that he has knowledge of this software too. And then I also he sent us the final PDF file of the 11 by 17 map. So while I believe he's going to be printing and putting some of those up, we also have a map file that we can use for whatever we want, whether we want to print or we want to put it up on the web or anything like that. We can update that when we're ready.
Yeah, I think we should definitely have a downloadable copy on the website.
Yep.
Thank you, Jim, for doing that. Again, that type of thing is beyond my ability with the software. And if you're having trouble with it, I certainly.
I use it quite a bit at work and I'm able to get the files up and I can see all the trails, but there's sort of this like exclamation point that it's not connecting to them via the drive. So I think that a little bit of troubleshooting and a little bit of Googling will figure it out.
So this is in regard to the map. Weren't we required by the grant? And I guess that we'll have to go through a punch list and look at that since it's been such a long time. But sending these points to some database with the city, it's not just posting it on to the state, not posting it on our website, but uploading it.
I believe so. And I'm 90% sure that what Zach gave us will do that. It's just a matter of me being able to open them in my software, but they are the correct files. Like I've gotten to the point where like it actually shows them, it just won't necessarily open them. So it's close.
Yeah.
And it looks like Jeanette knows someone who can help also.
Yep, maybe.
Awesome. Like you said, Chris, I do think we just have to go through a punch list of all the deliverables as we get to wrapping this up in the next couple months.
Yeah. So Chris, do you want to talk about the sign installations and the sign expense?
Yeah, I think we approved the purchasing of the extra signs at the last meeting. And so that's going to be deducted from what we believe is a good chunk of a balance that we have with the grant. But that will be submitted to Janet Chatney. And I think at that time, I told Zach not to submit that until they were all installed. And I think that there would be at that point in time, the rest of his reimbursement. I don't think there's anything else we're waiting for him on. I think that there was a little bit extra, that he hadn't been reimbursed yet for on the trail assessment. Actually, he was reimbursed for the trail assessment. But so I think after he installs the signs, which is sounding like it's coming up this coming week. I thought he said this week, but it'll be soon. Then all of the expectations from Zach will have been met, and then Janet could, really finalize. It was pretty clear what other than the additional sign expense, we just really need to push her to get the city's expenses associated with the grant finalized. That's the only value that we we do not know at this point in time. And I think it's really important that, yeah, that's on the grant balance. I'm jumping ahead. So anyway,
Yeah, that's
keep it-
okay. It's all over, you know, it's one big update. So
yeah, so I think
not-
that we have a good, I think it's about, even with the extra sign expense, we should have, if the city doesn't, there's no surprise from the city's end, and I don't think that there would be. It's just getting that value that the city wants to be reimbursed, finalized. And I think that there should be like $2,800 to $3,000 left, which is a good chunk of money that we do not want to leave dangling, and we could definitely put it to use. But we've been having difficulty getting that the attention of Janet at this point in time, or for the last several months.
And I guess I just wanted to follow that by asking Amanda, well, first thanking Amanda for bumping my starting in March emails to Janet and Nicholas. Amanda earlier in the week just bumped the question about the balance, and maybe Amanda heard back from them.
Unfortunately, I did not, but tomorrow morning I'm going to talk with Nicholas about this. So,
Okay, thank you. I've kind of just considered it a lost cause. I haven't even really bothered to email Janet anymore. Last time I went in and talked to her, she kind of seemed mad at me at first, and then she seemed frustrated just with her situation. So I've kind of just left it. And she had promised to follow up with me in a couple days, and I didn't hear from her. So
yeah, no, I understand. And she's in a tough spot right now with the departure of the permanent administrator.
yeah,
But this is top of my list first thing tomorrow morning to call.
great. And it's a pretty easy question because it's really just how much is the city asking for reimbursement for the work that they did. And once we have that, we can do the rest of the math.
Yep, I will. And that honestly there may be other ways to get that data from like Brian Baker or the Public Works Department. But I will, jotting it down on my to-do list for tomorrow morning for right now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I had started to try to get that information quite a while ago, and then I passed the torch to Jim, thinking he might have some success. But I think we're both frustrated. And I, with that said, I do appreciate the fact that she has so much going on, and
Yeah, totally.
yeah. Okay. Unfinished trail projects, trail workday. Jim, I think that's you.
That is me. Thank you all for filling out what I consider kind of annoying doodle poll, but I tried to narrow down some days based on my limited schedule this summer, and it didn't look like there was a day that necessarily everybody could come. So if anybody is like, I really want to be there, let me know. Otherwise, it came down to August 3rd or August 24th.
Oh,
And those were both days that Jeanette and Chris couldn't make it. So
well, I can go and do some independent work as well.
yeah, I don't think
It's a
it'll
bummer,
be,
but
yeah.
I'm the least important person on this list, but I'm also out that week. So Jeanette, maybe we could meet up ahead and do something together.
yeah. The second date. Yeah, I can't do it before the first weekend in August. Everything's pretty booked up then. But maybe the 23rd or something, we can get out ahead of it.
Yep. And then there was also this August 17th where Chris was a maybe. So
Yeah.
if no one's too concerned about it, there is plenty of work and I have the tools and it is pretty straightforward stuff. I don't think it's going to take a lot of time, but I have the list of the work and I will probably pick that August 3rd date to get it done sooner than later. So I'm not waiting till the end of August because there will likely be another day that we'll need to go out, or maybe just get a small crew together someday after work or something and go up there and do it.
Oh yeah, that works too. After work works
Okay,
on certain days. Yeah.
cool. Well, I'll follow up and make it a little bit more official and hopefully people can come.
Okay.
and I would, if those dates don't work for me, I don't have them in front of me. I can't recall what I responded to, but the closing off of the S2 trail would be an easy thing to do without instructions or help. It's just a matter of pulling brush into
Yep.
that corridor. So that would be a good project for, someone
Is
without.
that, do you anticipate any issues with closing that trail? Just my only thought about it, and I'm 100% supportive of closing it. I just didn't know if we needed to communicate with anybody, because it sort of seems like it comes from that one specific property. So I'm not sure if those people will walk up there at some point and be like, oh, they closed off the trail I used to come up here.
I had a conversation with the Lunds, Ken and Sharon Lund, who
Yep.
own that property, and Ken Lund is the person who has been very generously mowing the paths. And I was reaching out to him just to let them know and see if they had any concerns with the closing of that trail, and also to check in on him regarding whether or not he was going to be able to get around to mowing, or if that is something that he continues to desire to do. So I think the days of him mowing are no have come to an end. He has neck problems, and he said not to count on him this year. And so I think that's probably the property maintenance, the next major heading, comes into play as to how we can maybe perhaps engage the city or the cemetery department through yeah, I hear that. I'm out in the I'm out on the deck. Engage in that. So that I did speak with the ones, and they're aware that that's going to be closed, and they're fine.
Okay. That's great. That was my only concern with that, was just to make sure that, because I know sometimes when bike trails get rerouted or closed, the locals will go in and like reopen them and cause problems and stuff. So I don't expect that there, but I just figured I wanted to check with the local user of it. So that's great.
And I have no intent. I don't think the intent is to close the section that leads down to his private property.
No,
It clearly
totally.
leads
I
to
agree.
Mark. Okay.
Yep. Just the connector between those two. Yep.
Yes.
Great.
And I don't know if, like, at some point in time, we should put water bars to divert water, or if just putting brush in there will, because the grant, this, Amanda or anyone else not knowing, this is going to have to be a request for a change to scope of the project, the URSA grant, because we were required to do work on the water bars on that S2 trail. So then Zach came along and said we should close that trail. So we're going to have to write up something on that and two other areas to ask for a grant amendment to not do that work for what we consider is good reason for the three areas.
And we have that amendment ready to go, right? We just need to, once we have the balance, the final balance, we can get that in.
From what I remember back in March, I think yes.
Yeah, and that would be another reason to get the balance soon, because we've been sitting on this amendment for a few months and are hoping to get it to the state.
Yeah. The other thing though with that is that we do have the balance, and I'm still and we can talk about that. Well, the grant balance is an item. I don't know if we're done talking about the trail work day.
I think we are. You can go ahead and just go right into that.
Yeah. So if we do, I had asked Zach for estimates on a few of the projects that we, that thought that we could be completed by him. So a couple of them were not things that were required by the grant, which were secondary kiosks. It was a recommendation of his, and they were kind of expensive. I thought I printed out his estimates, and I'm not seeing them right now, but I believe that they were like 2,800 a piece. They were kind of 3,200 a piece for the secondary kiosks. So perhaps we could get one of those, but I'm still hopeful that with that, unless somebody has any other recommendations for the grant balance, I'm still thinking that being able to knock off the list one of the three grant amendments that we're asking for, the S2 seems very logical to, but the crossing by the stream crossing, that was a project that ended up being much bigger, talking to Zach, than what was within the scope of this. But
Yep.
the other one was that trail crossing across the what is now part of the cow pasture loop up by the Perrin property, and dealing with that steep area. So I guess I'm hopeful to, I think it would be nice if we could address that and get that taken care of, so that we could knock that off, not include that with the grant amendment. So we would be, not only using up the balance of the grant, but we would also be eliminating one of the 3 things that we're now going to have to ask for a grant amendment for. And I don't know how that's going to play out with the state.
I'm not super concerned about sending the grant amendment. It happens all the time, at least in my area. It happens all the time because people just, things change, opportunities change, costs definitely change. And I think the state is generally pretty open, especially since this isn't federal money. I think the state has a pretty relative amount of flexibility. And this grant, it's state funding. I'm sure it'll be fine. It sounds like when we have the balance, sounds like we should probably have another subcommittee meeting just to kind of move things along.
I agree. That would be a good time to go through a checklist of everything that remains and what else we can do with the money and get it done.
And reporting and whatnot. So, okay.
Yep.
Anything else? I want to be sensitive to the time and the fact that our internet might go out when it starts.
I'm just glad Chris is going inside. I've never heard thunder on Zoom and then in person a split second later before.
That's
That
pretty
There you
cool.
go.
That was kind of cool, actually.
If you can hear it, it's there. Okay. Anything else about Ursa Grant subcommittee updates? I think we can check that off. Okay, we have about 45 minutes left. Property maintenance.
I could touch on the down tree removal really quickly. There
Sure.
was a couple of big trees down. My new friend Joe that moved in nearby is a pretty well-trained chainsaw person, and his partner had offered that they could do tree work, and then she went out west to fight fires, and he was left with it when I reached out. But he was pretty excited to do it, and I think Nicholas just wanted him to sign a waiver so that if he hurt himself, the city wasn't responsible. But he went up and took care of the trees. And when him and Mark did it, actually, Mark was the tree dragger, and Joe cut everything, and they took care of the down trees. And Joe said he was happy to do it again in the future. I think he would have to get I think the waiver that he signed was specific to the dates that he did it, but he's happy to go up and do that again in the future. So.
And they even took down that tree that was sort of hung up on the upper that's parallel to the Perrin land. It was sort of hung up and was just a matter of time when that would go. So I was happy to see that gone too. They did a really good job.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah,
he's well trained. So
it's great.
That's awesome. Really appreciate. What is Joe's last name, just for the minutes?
Ooh, he's a new friend, so he might not even be in my phone with the last name yet. Let me check.
You have good friends.
If you put your contacts in like mine, his name will be like Joe Chainsaw.
Yes.
It's
Joe next door.
Yeah, it actually says Ellen's neighbor, Joe Carter. His last name's Carter.
Nice. That's and so would you be willing, and do you think it's appropriate to ask him to do, because the city was responsible for their work clearing the trail, what is going to be just the access road from Route 14 up, but there's another tree that this spring fell down, so they had it cleared nicely. I know the city, Nicholas really, really appreciated not having to divert his city crew up to the cow pasture.
Okay.
And he really appreciated that. Yeah, I had and I kind of insisted on the waiver. I think it was a good idea to have him sign that, and Mark. And
Yeah, the only thing that I think would be helpful is if the way to do the waiver was for like a year or something, it would make it easier to just say, Joe, can you go out and take care of that tree? And he'd go do it. I don't know if that's a thing that the city does or not, but
I can inquire about
yeah,
that, but that's a good recommendation.
yeah. I'm sure he'd be willing to do it. And his partner Sonia, who is also well trained in tree work, is back in town too. So they're a good pair to take care of that stuff.
So I think I'm hearing that, that try to get a waiver for a year and then approach them to clear the tree that's on the access road.
Yeah. Yep. I don't mind approaching them about that if you're willing to talk to Nicholas about if he requires another waiver for this event, or if that previous one would cover it.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, Nicholas was very quick to respond and come up with the, kind of a boilerplate waiver for that.
Right.
Great. Okay. Brush hogging and meadow trail mowing, which I noticed is not mowed, the meadow trail, because it was super wet the other morning when I was walking there. And probably because Ken isn't able to do it anymore.
Yes, yes. So, and this is the year that the brush hogging is. It's every 2 to 3 years, and this will be 3 years, and we're waiting to get the access road opened. And it was my hope that I would get onto the city's contract with brush hogging, and I never got a response. I started I think in January or February. And I don't know if I had the wrong contacts, because I think there's I don't know if I contacted the Public Works Director or the Parks and Recreation. So anyway, I never got a response back from them and just got frustrated with reaching out. So, since this year is the brush hogging time, I think if we, and I think the recommendation was to do it after August to allow the nesting birds to have departed from their nests. I think we can do the trail. The brush hog will get the trails as well, and they won't be mowed, but brush hogged instead. In the conversation, we initiate, that was Jeanette had gotten a text on the cow pasture Gmail account saying that the gate hadn't been locked. And in that process, we had conversations with Adam Martin, who's a neighbor to the north. And he was asking about brush hogging. And I don't know if he was the one that did it for the snow bees before, but he said, I don't know if you guys are just letting the paths go, but it looks like they need brush hogging, and I can do that. So the question is that, I would like the city to start taking more responsibility for some of this property maintenance. But what does the committee feel about, once again, and it's too bad Greg Rouleau wasn't here for this meeting, but we have a quorum. What do people think about a motion to, and I can't make a motion because I'm a chair, but to contacting Adam Martin, who's the neighbor to the north on the other side of the gate, to brush hog the meadow, or should we pursue getting the city to follow up on that?
I guess my fear is that if we rely on the city, it might not happen this year. If it's something that we can get to happen by the Snow Bees folks who did a great job last time, I would support that. It's hard because I do think there is a certain level of responsibility that the city should have for it if they've agreed to do it. But I also think it's important to get it done before things grow up too much and it becomes more of an issue.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's already pretty overgrown, and I think by the time the city gets around to it, folks won't go anymore because it's just too overgrown. So maybe as a sort of an interim solution, we could ask him to do it if he offered. Does he need the waiver as well, or is it just really for He does. Okay.
I don't know. That's a good question. We have, and I've been concerned with people going up, and most of the time, what the conversation that I had with Nicholas is that people have been, like Ken Lund has been, going up with his son and removing trees. Steve McKenzie's been doing it. Certain things have been being done by friends of the committee. Can't think of his name now, mows the entrance to the pasture. But
Mhm.
Nicholas's opinion is that if they just go do something without us asking them to do it, that's a different situation than if we are engaging them and saying, please come, yes, please
Yes.
come and brush hog, and please come and, cut up the trees. So I would say yes, that we should have a waiver.
And how often do we do this mowing? Every 3 years?
Brush hogging is recommended
Right.
every 2 to
Brush
3
hogging.
years. The mowing, Ken used to do it twice a year, and most recently he's been only doing it once a year.
Okay.
But I think that mowing's important just because of ticks.
Yes,
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Just a quick
So-
follow-up note on this, which is I'm adding brush hogging to my conversation with Nicholas for tomorrow morning. I tend to agree with the group that if there is a path to getting it done quickly, that should be the path, but it will certainly be part of our conversation.
Excellent.
I have a question about the brush hogging. So does the whole meadow get brush hogged?
No?
No. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
But
So would that include where we cut all that buckthorn down?
we have had that. It really hasn't been able to be where they brush hogged last time. As you come in from the far gate, has been to the right of the main path because there's a bunch of bittersweet growing in there. And so they've been jumping into where the sumac is and getting that side. They historically haven't been able to go too far to the right because the buckthorn forest was there. So based on what you have, when we tied those off, Susan, you specifically said it shouldn't be brush hogged. So I would specifically go up there and show them that if they're willing and able to, in addition to the big meadow where they go around the periphery of it, and I also have to flag some stumps in there. So I'd be willing to do that. I know where the stumps are from the white pine on the big one. The big meadow where the bluebird boxes are. I would also make sure that they don't jump over into the area that we removed the buckthorn.
Okay. I don't know, it might not be horrible. I just would be concerned about all the plastic that is in there. I wouldn't want that to get all.
Yeah, I don't think we'd want that removed yet either. So if they were gonna go in there, I think we'd want to flag that area so the plastic stays on, because if the plastic gets ripped off and it gets exposed, I fear that it would start to grow.
Okay.
So I think if we have that conversation with whoever's gonna be doing the mowing, we'd want to make sure we flag that area to avoid it, is my initial thought on it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I would go with that.
But everyone is in agreement that where the bittersweet mess is to the right of that, as you're coming down the path, that they can jump into that area. We didn't touch, we've removed buckthorn in the past, or actually, I think the Career Center has removed buckthorn in that area, but we never covered it. So I'm going to encourage them to mow down the bittersweet so it's not tangling up in the trees and growing to the tree canopy, but not go to what Susan, you said is now like a lovely goldenrod patch.
Yeah, the only other thing to be aware of is I don't know how professional he is with brush hogging, but sometimes the machines can capture seeds and berries from those things and transport them around as they cut things down. So it's just something to be that professional people under a contract would be required to make sure their machines are clean before they move elsewhere. So just something to think about.
So I want to make sure we're talking about, that everybody knows what we're talking about here. So we have the trail cutting, the trail mowing.
Yeah,
That's what we are going to ask Adam for after we
Yep.
vote, that we're going to ask Adam for. And then we have
Oh.
the professional brush hogging that Chris was going to ask the
Adam,
city about. Oh, you're going to ask Adam to also do the brush hogging?
he
He offered.
he offered to do the brush hogging.
So both the trail mowing and the brush hogging.
Well, I think that if he brush hogs, it'll serve as a mowing. It won't be as clear and cut. But if he brush hogs that, the grass will be cut down. I'm under the impression, you know, it'll grab the grass as well. So we're doing this year, because it's the brush hogging year. I think we can take care of the mowing when it gets brush hogged. It'll be brush hogged, which will serve as both mowing. It'll cut back the grass.
So I want to be, I want us, when we do approach, if we do approach Adam, I want us to be careful that we don't use his offer too much, because, you know, sometimes we mix up terminology for stuff, and we should find out from him if he meant just mowing the trails with his brush hog. You know, because these guys are out with this big equipment and they're like, yeah, I'm just going to go out and brush hog, when maybe he's really only talking about maintaining the trails and not going out and doing the big job of brush hogging. So I want to be sure that maybe we kind of ask him what it is that he meant, what he offered, and then take it from there. And if he says, no, I just meant taking my brush hog out and doing the trails, that would be super welcome, I think, as a first thing to do. And then if he says, well, yeah, I can also do the brush hogging, the real brush hogging that we all are talking about, then we don't have to ask the city. But if he's like, no, it was just really maintaining the trails, then we still have to go to the city. So I just want to make sure that we let him kind of guide what it is that he's offering. Because, you know, when we say brush hog, that means I'm going to get out on my brush hog and do something, and we don't know what it is necessarily.
Yeah. No, that's a valid, good point. And what I think what I would propose, you know, to the committee, is that instead of touching bases with Nicholas, it was his first year as the city representative to the committee, but it was that year that Greg Rouleau, or whoever was I think it was Greg was involved in it, offered up the brush hogging of the snow bees. So I'm wondering if it was Adam who did it, because the property was adjoining. So if he's just going to mow, my next step would be to contact Greg Rouleau and see if they can just brush hog, rather than having two people going out and doing essentially, you know, the same thing.
Yeah,
having to communicate with two people. So I don't know if I need a motion to go forward and try to if Adam is unable to do the brush hogging along with the mowing, a motion to contact Greg Rouleau and see if a snow bee representative can do that.
I would like to make that motion that Chris talked to the northern property neighbors, because I think Greg is a neighbor up there too, right? Well, this is a motion / discussion. Never mind. I would like to make a motion that Chris first talk to Adam to clarify what he's offering, and then take it from there, depending on what he's offering, to talk to the snow bee rep, which is Greg.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay. And I think, Susan, I should have included in that motion that they get trained and that they know exactly where they go and they don't go. because of the invasives work that we did. So I'll just amend.
That, and I think Jim made a good point about at least suggesting to them that they clean up afterward, so they're not spreading the invasives wherever they go next.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, all in favor? Okay. So moved. Thank you, Chris, for offering to do that communication with them. Okay, we have some updates next, and I want to do a time check. We have 24 minutes. Conservation access. So Mark isn't here. Does anybody have anything from him that they could offer? Or should we just wait until he gets back?
I can offer something because my husband Mike is on that subcommittee, so I'm kind of aware of what they're talking about. The what is relative to the signs being posted. You can, I think perhaps we mentioned before that we had a post where Mark had recommended the wayfinding sign on the hill from Johnson Avenue was posted. It's been moved a little bit. They learned, that an angled property line to the property to the right. So we're being respectful of the private property on the right-hand side of the what's become a parking lot for the Pierces. And so it's been shifted over a little bit. So we've told Zach that, that's where we recommend that the sign go, but he could shift it, and that there's going to have to be some tree limbs probably removed from there. And they have also, the advisory group has also posted 2 stakes that if you guys have any thoughts or anything concerns about, where we are going to ask the city to put like 4x4 posts to demarcate kind of a pathway through the parking area. So they're pushed back. You can't see them from the road. And that was kind of in respect of the Pierces who were concerned that their snowplow might knock the post down and they would be responsible for it. So I think we might have spoke of that before, but there wasn't a mark on the, any posts on the ground. So I think that if everyone approves, Mike, my husband, has been in contact with Nicholas about getting the city to install those posts with maybe just little reflectors on them. Nicholas did ask if the grant was going to pay for the posts. I suspect we'll have money left over, but I can't imagine that those posts are going to be that expensive. But we might be having to budget for 2 4x4 posts that they will install. So take a look at where those flags are. And I guess if you have any concerns, I guess reach out to Mark on the Conservation and Access Committee.
I think procedurally that group has the power to make those decisions. So, you're welcome to provide input, but I don't think we have to vote on it. So if you go out and you hike there and you see them and you have other thoughts, just please be sure to communicate that to Mark. Anything else from the Conservation Access group? They've been busy talking to landowners and just really expanding access. It's been wonderful to see. So they're a power subgroup. Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Susan, invasive plant control, subgroup of 1.
I have nothing to update.
Okay. That is fine. Thank you. All right. Social media update. Emily, I saw your posts.
Yes.
We've made a few posts in the past couple months. I wish I could make more. I really would like to try to be a little bit better at posting like more regularly, like once a week, but I think there have been about 6 posts in totals that I've assisted with. I was thinking about perhaps like posting in like local groups. I have to think more about that. It's just like an initial concept, but just to like kind of, you know, maybe try to get more followers, or just kind of to as an easy way to kind of boost some reach for our posts. So that's just a thought that I'm throwing out there. Do you want to do more posts with the exploratory tech students? We have a lot of content from that, and I only made like a very short post with the content they provided. So I think we can, you know, do like a couple throwback posts to back in the spring with different activities that they were doing. And then I did have a quick question. It doesn't need to be answered here, but I did kind of notice like we have a few different ways that we reference like the Barre City Cow Pasture. So there's the Barre City Cow Pasture, there's the Cow Pasture, and then there's the City of Barre Cow Pasture. And I just wasn't sure if like we wanted to focus on using one like on social media when we reference a cow pasture, or if it's okay to use all of them. So again, not a question that needs to be answered at this moment, but I just wanted to throw it out there as something maybe to talk about this evening.
It's a good point. And we had the same issue in the trail assessment we got from Zach. It was kind of all over the place. And I think that's just because we colloquially call it the cow pasture. But personally, I think from a branding point of view, calling it the Barre City Cow Pasture is probably great because it attaches it to the city that it's in. So that might be nice. What's the handle on the Facebook? What's it called there?
It's called Barre City Cow Pasture.
Yeah.
Then like when you kind of look at the location address, that says the cow pasture. So anyway, I was just noticing like a couple different ways we were referencing it.
Our vision statement also starts with the Barre City Cow Pasture.
Yeah.
So that's probably the official way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as far
Good
as
question.
posting to other groups, yeah, it's really great that you're thinking about those things like the branding and consistency. Other groups would be the Barre. Well, I mean, the Barre partnership is a more of a business development, but I don't think there's a reason why they wouldn't talk up this asset that the city has. So if you wanted to send things their way or tag them or whatever, I'm sure there are other groups that wouldn't mind promoting the Barre City Cow Pasture. So
I'm sorry, which group was that you mentioned?
Barre Partnership, and then of course the city. You know, I don't know if the city necessarily always picks up your posts, but might be good to.
I don't think the city's social media really is functioning as a keep an eye on things and then share it, but I bet if you sent them direct notice about a specific event or a specific ask, they could absolutely share something.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I'll keep my eyes open, Emily, as I kind of just look at socials and see if there's something that might spark, you know, oh, it would be great to kind of cross post here. So, and if everybody else could do that too on their socials.
Awesome.
Thank you for doing this work. It's noticeable, and I'm really happy to see stuff being posted. And, you know, even if it's pictures of Fleabane, which I love. So,
yeah, I should. Yes, yeah, I really recognize that too and appreciated that. I think I'm wondering, you know, you were on the committee when we were applying for the URSA grant, but coming up is we're finally wrapping this up after so many years. And, you know, I think we applied in 2021 for this grant. And so we really never informed the community at all of, you know, the fact that we were highly competitive. I think there was like 92 applicants and only, I'm trying to recall what it was, but only like 10 or 12 recipients of these grants. So we never kind of made any effort to advertise and let, you know, and I think now since it's wrapping up and the signs are coming up, you know, any of your thoughts on, you know, kind of posting information or getting it out even in print in the newspapers, an article on, and it's kind of like a thank you to the state too for selecting our project. But I do have some information on, who got awarded grants and how much it was, and just like pieces of information that I've gathered that I could share with you. But your thoughts on pulling something and doing a blast of information saying, we've crossed the bridge to we finalized the grant, would be great.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing idea, especially with the signage. I think that's a really exciting update and a great opportunity for photos. And we could really easily do a press release. I have a bunch of like local news contacts, like a list we could send it to if that would be of interest. And we could, if you were able to help me out a little bit with some of the providing some of the information that would need to go in the press release, I'd be happy to draft something to share with you. And we could send that with photos of the signs and photos of the bridge and that sort of thing. We could send that out as a press release to local media and do a social media post in combination with that.
I might suggest giving them a thing to point to. So possibly doing asking the Barre Partnership to do a ribbon cutting with you. They often publicize those very widely. I know the trails are always open, right? But like a new signage, finished work, ribbon cutting kind of thing might be something that you could send the press release out and say, here's all the work, come celebrate with us, give them an action on this day. And the same can be true I would also be very happy to put the Cow Pasture Committee on a city council agenda to talk about and show the work when that's ready as well.
Yeah. Amanda, do you know if we need to clear any press releases with the city before we put them out?
I don't know that there's a formal policy. It probably would not hurt.
Yeah, probably never hurts because we don't want them to be surprised. I think what is important to really highlight here is not just what the result of it, but also the all of the work that went into it and all the hours of people who are community members and all of that. Because sometimes when we hear critiques of the trail and the bridges and things like that, I think people don't realize that this doesn't just happen overnight. So that would be one thing, but I think a press release would be wonderful because it's good news. It's a good news story that we so desperately need right now, I think.
I love the idea of the ribbon cutting as well. How would we go about organizing that in terms of figuring out a date and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so Tracy Lewis at the Barre Partnership, you can just email the Barre Partnership director. They have ribbons and giant scissors that they will show up with. You just have to find I guess it would be up to the committee to pick a date that you feel is completion, whatever that represents, so that the committee can all attend, and then work with her on that. And they also, they publicize them widely. She sends them out to lists of huge contracts as well. So I guess I would say start with the committee and figure out what date or series of dates makes the most sense, and then go to Tracy.
Awesome.
Emily, I think the subcommittee, I'm just going to speak for the subcommittee. I think we can help you as well with sort of the data points and also what we'd like to highlight. And then I also wonder if we should do something a little bit more outdoorsy, like a potato sack reveal, like put a potato sack over the sign and reveal it rather than the ribbon cutting, just because it's more natural than that, but I think those are all details we could probably talk about when we
do both, all of the above.
when we reveal. But it's a great idea, and I think getting the word out, and that was part of the grant requirement as well, is that we promote it in all of the corners of Barre. And I think we should think about also Front Porch Forum and posting something celebratory there, because that reaches a ton of people, and people who may not be on other socials or read the newspaper. And I would try to get, you know, even the small free papers like the World, because people read the World. So, yeah. So we can talk.
Montpelier Bridge is also starting to cover Barrymore as well. They
Yes.
might be interested.
Yes, they are. I noticed that.
Who is that? I didn't hear.
Montpelier Bridge, which is a nonprofit newspaper in Montpelier, small, very small, but they're doing good work.
And I think probably Times Argus would as well.
Yeah, you can certainly reach out to them. I'm Dave Delco. I have Dave Delco's contact information. It might be a good talk of the town bit, if not a full article.
Oh, yeah.
I've submitted a couple of things with the talk of the town that some of them have got published and others haven't more recently. You know, I've written up things with the Career Center and provided pictures, and it really didn't make it into the most recently, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But Dave Delcor I used to contact, and he was very good at in the past highlighting the cow pasture. So I think that he would jump on board with this because it's such a big
And is it Jeb who's the photographer for Times Argus?
Jeb Wallace.
Jeb, well, and he's a mountain biker, isn't he? So he probably uses those trails too, because I know he's connected to a bike shop down here. So anyway, we can talk details. We are quickly approaching the end of the meeting time. Emily, do you have anything else to add to your update for now?
No, I'm just wanted to know, do we have a tentative time frame for the completion of the sign install and the map?
I believe Zach said he thought he would get around to it this week. Is that correct, Jim and Jeanette?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
I haven't heard an update. I assume we'll get an email when he's completed it, or one of us will see that it's complete.
Right.
He did say he would try to get up there this week. The actual date was to be determined.
Yeah.
I would say by like mid-August. We're also going to have to finish up the trail work too, a little bit at least.
Yeah.
I would think like mid-August or early September would be a reasonable date in my opinion.
Or maybe when folks are back, when school's back in session and folks are more settled and focus on this.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of more September-ish, you know, just everyone will have settled back in town.
And we will hopefully have wrapped everything up by then.
Yeah.
Could do it during the September meeting date.
Yeah.
That's true.
Except we need to vote for our officers.
Yes,
so we can procrastinate on that more than.
Not a perfect idea.
Yeah, we'll bump that to November.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's September 18th, so we might want to be discussing that at our next meeting. So I think it would be nice to do it after that.
Yeah. Okay. Vermont Town Forest Census Project. I had taken that and they required us to submit it 2 weeks after they sent it to us, and I did not do it. I had no time. So I might still fill it out at some point and then they can either take it or leave it, but capacity right now is pretty limited. So that is the update. And then I had added the trailhead waste situation, and if you all are okay with just using the rest of the time to discuss that. So I went up Tuesday. We drove up to the trailhead because it was hot and parked at the trailhead, and right at the entrance was some used tissue and then also some drug paraphernalia. So a syringe and then those straws that you often find with the syringes. I did not see any sharps right at first glance. So we left because we had the dogs and I didn't want the dogs to get hurt. I would assume that other people come up there and see it and leave. And then Chris, you went up and saw some other bio stuff like feminine products and tissues and things like that, right? but
I
not.
did, and I did
drug
not
paraphernalia.
see, I was looking for drug paraphernalia and I didn't see any, but that there was a truck that I'm afraid probably spent the night there because I went pretty early, like 9 the next morning. And that truck could have been parked over what you saw, Jeanette. So
Yeah.
I didn't see anything other than like disgusting tissues and tampon holders, and it was trashy looking.
Yeah, yeah. It struck me how trashy it looked just pulling up. So I don't know what we've done in the past. I don't think this is a new thing. Who's experienced this before? I guess Chris.
I think that the committee has cleaned it up and just, or I think more so just people going up there, like friends of it's been informal, but it's been
Mhm.
cleaned up. I know that I've cleaned up, every time I go up there, if there's something in the parking lot area and I'm with my car and I have a bag, I'll clean it up.
Yeah.
Certainly I would never, and I would ask no one to ever pick up drug paraphernalia. That's so I did call after I was going to call the police and ask them to go down there immediately if I did see drug paraphernalia, and I did not see that. I
Mhm.
did contact oh gosh, I forgot his name, the new Parks and Recreation. I want to say it's another Jeff on the city.
Michelle.
Joe, thank you. Um, and he asking for a trash pickup thing, and then he said that they had one that he could share. I told him that we would be cleaning up the area at our meeting, hopefully. And then he said, "Well, can you?" He put me on hold, and then he came back and said the city will be up there today to clean up the trash
Oh,
at that site.
great.
I gave him a warning. I said, it's on our agenda this evening. You're more than welcome to attend the meeting this evening. I suspect you don't want to be doing that, and I would understand. But I said that we're going to be talking more about getting the city involved in some of the maintenance that volunteers have been doing. And one of those things would be to circling through that parking lot and keeping it tidy and clean. I think it's kind of beyond the stone wall of the cow pasture, and I think it's an not an unreasonable ask for them to be sweeping through there and keeping that area tidy.
Mhm. And I assume that they also have disposal mechanisms and they're trained for biohazard stuff, which we are not. So you have to be specially trained for biohazard. So that's why the request to not pick that stuff up. Of course, the temptation, I'm going to say if I had had a grabber, I would have picked it up with a grabber, but because I'm not going to leave it there. So do we need to make an official request to the city to swing by there,
Um,
writing or something?
He was going to mention, he had a meeting with Nicholas this morning and he was going to mention, the situation and our concern. And, and I believe he was also going to mention to Nicholas that we would like to request more of a city presence at the cow pasture entrance, not only for that, but also again to sweep through. Last year, we were having trouble with people spending the night there, and I really suspect that the truck that I saw there early in the morning, it had screens in all the windows and there was a cat inside the truck. And I thought maybe there might have been someone sleeping in it. So I didn't really stay too long and look under the truck or anything like that because I felt like could have been somebody in the truck spending the night.
Okay.
Related, but possibly separate. I did notice the other day when I was walking, there was like a tarp that looked like some kind of like tent set up off the side of a trail, not too far from the entrance. So I didn't know if it was a little bit down the hill when you first start out on the new trail. I didn't know if that was in the cow pasture limits or not, just because I'm not super familiar. But I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, It's my understanding that the public works people have drawn a line and said that I think that the policy before was that the police would go to the site and put a notice inside the tent that camping is not allowed. Please remove your materials within a certain period of time. And then they would recheck on it. As of last year, the last time we had encampments, and then it was the public works job to go in and remove that. In a conversation that I had, it wasn't with Brian Baker, but to staff, that they said that he was refusing to send his people up in that situation because he didn't think it was safe for them, and that it was above and beyond, their call to duty. So Amanda, I don't know if you have any updates on what we should be doing with this, if there indeed is a tarp still there and an encampment.
So there's a couple of things. Generally, the policy, and Nicholas has stated this, is that the things will be removed when people complain about them, that when they're otherwise, anyway, I'm wondering a couple of things aloud. The cow pasture likely now falls under the city's public conduct ordinance, which would prohibit certain behaviors in that space, and could bring in increased police involvement if there are specific behaviors noted and reported. Encampment is already part of the city ordinance as not allowed on public property. The other thing I'm thinking too is that a kinder sort of first step might be to talk to Good Samaritan, who has an outreach team that can work with folks and do the sort of, as I said, the kinder first step might be to have someone that folks are familiar with, who can offer them different paths and let them know that this is not a place for safe camping. So that might be a better first step than ratcheting up to city enforcement, because if the city enforcement gets involved, it will have to be pretty quickly removed. The other thought is that, with folks exiting a little more than 2 weeks ago now, I expect this will start to become a more common occurrence this summer as folks are trying to figure out what to do for the summer now that the motel program is no longer available. So.
Thank you, Amanda. I know that Susan has had her hand up, so I want to give her a chance to say whatever she has to say. Go ahead, Susan.
I just wanted to mention also along these same lines, there's several times that I've driven up there that there are cars in the parking lot that really are not people that I think are using the pasture. And so hanging out, maybe dealing drugs, I don't know. But it's been a little sketch in the parking lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if the city can swing by sometimes, if the cops should swing by. I don't know, just it's really out of the way. And I think people are finding that space.
Yeah, I know in the past when there's been requests, the police have been able to sort of add loops to their patrol route up to the top of the Maplewood.
So for now, I'm hearing, because again, this is a huge topic that I think, we had 10 minutes to discuss, and I want to be mindful of the time. I think for now, we can see if the city can go and regularly clean up the parking lot. It sounds like that is something that isn't out of the ordinary, that maybe they could do. And I don't know if we want to request that the Barre PD add just a drive-by to their regular rotation.
I'll put that on my list to confer. Nicholas is going to have a nice long chat tomorrow morning. I'll put it on the list.
Great. I think as the camping situation probably progresses, we'll probably need to have more conversations about this, because Amanda, you addressed the humane side of things, and then the, you know, the enforcement side of things. And so I would be interested in determining what the cow pasture committee's responsibility is in determining where we as a group go, and whether it's even in our purview to decide where we go, or if we just say there's an encampment there and tell the city. So
Brief thought,
mhm.
which is that the unhoused neighbors committee in Barre City has started up again, and that is now meeting productively. So there might be a role for a member of the cow pasture committee to attend a future meeting of that committee and raise exactly I think the framing of your question just now was good. And just share these are folks with professional and lived experience in working on this challenge, so they may also have some thoughtful things to offer.
Yeah, that sounds good. Anything else? Do we want to pick this topic up again in the next agenda?
I think that because it's this time of year and that we don't meet for every other month, I would like to have, you know, kind of vote on an action as to who we're going to approach, because a lot can happen and it could spiral out of control very quickly if we don't contact, you know, what did you say? It was unhoused, what is the name of the group? And
Unhoused, I thought it was unhoused neighbors. It's the unhoused community committee. I'm mangling the name. I'm going to look it up and give you the proper name.
Is Tess Taylor involved with that?
She is, yes, she staffs it.
Oh, she staffs it. Okay, so I have the contact, Chris, unless you know Tess. So
Unhoused community committee. Sorry.
And is that an official city committee? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
It was previously under a slightly different name, and it had fallen out of quorum. And part of Tess's work as the city homelessness and housing liaison has been through work. There's been extensive conversations with service providers and things like that. And one of the outcomes of those extensive conversations and that community work has been to stand up that committee again with a full complement of folks, a lot of whom also work in adjacent service providers and things like that in the city. It's up on the city website if you're curious who's on it.
Okay. Okay. I would be willing, just out of concern that, you know, that time will go by in the summer, you know, just exactly what I had said earlier, that it'll get out of control and that it should be addressed sooner rather than later, and we meet every other month. I guess I would be willing to reach out to them and, you know, basically, first of all, verify that there is an encampment still up there, and then reach out and ask that, you know, that there's no camping in the cow pasture. That's a cow pasture as well as a city regulation. So, and ask them how to proceed and if they would interact with them before our next meeting. You know, I think I can do that probably this week if committee members think that's a good idea.
okay, I see nods. Is this something we have to do a motion on?
I don't think you have to vote on it unless you want to.
No, I don't think so. Jim, I didn't see you nodding. Did you have concerns? I'm gonna put you in the spot.
I don't know. I can go either way with this stuff because I know people have nowhere to go, and if you push them out of the cow pasture, they're going to go somewhere else. So I don't know. It's a tough situation for everybody.
Yeah.
I support trying to help them in some way, whether it's asking them to move or it's putting them in touch with a group that could potentially provide some help. I think that this new group that Tess had, that I don't think she's actually a member of it based on what I saw, but the new unhoused community committee would be a great place to contact and figure out what the suggestion is of how this stuff is handled. Because one of the topics was the topic discussed at.
Yeah, they just met last night.
June 18th minutes. One is sanctioned municipal camping. So that's one of the discussions they're having is like, where can people camp? I know there's people at Rotary Park that camp also, which is city property. So, and I don't think there's camping allowed there, but I don't think anyone necessarily chases them out. So
Yeah.
I support trying to figure out what the best option is,
Okay.
which is hard.
Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot. Yeah, I think
Okay.
whatever supports carving out space for both situations, you know, having people feel safe when they pull up there.
Yeah.
And not seeing trash and
Agreed.
is important as well. And so I mean, we're facing this, I think, citywide and nationwide, but
yeah,
probably central Vermont seems like that's an issue for everybody right now. Okay. Thank you. Sorry to go over. I guess we went over exactly the time that we're late. So I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, Susan seconds. Is an undiscussable motion, I think, so we can just, or unvotable, we can discuss, but we don't vote. So if anybody has a discussion item, no. Okay, meeting adjourned at 7:10.
Perfect.
Right.
We made the right call because it poured. So
It poured.
It's a lot of rain.
Thank you, Chris, for making that call. I really
It
appreciate
was hard. I really wanted to.
it. I know.
And I really, really watered my garden today, thinking that if I really watered it heavily, it wouldn't rain. But
Next
it
time.
did.
Hold
Next
on.
time. Okay.
Enjoy
take care.
the cool weather. Bye.
Bye.
thanks, everyone. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Great committee.